We're going to talk on the ascertaining the place of library and information science in the knowledge management research. So it's me, Dr. Mohammad Anwarul Islam. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Information Science and Library Management, University of Dhaka from Bangladesh. So welcome to our presentation sessions. So it's a kind of a story that me and my co-author Naresh, we did work together on the following areas. So I did my PhD in knowledge science, and from that moment we started collaboration with Naresh. So the areas where I had worked, it was all about like knowledge management and service innovation, how knowledge management lead to the service innovation things. So over the last 2 decades, we know that how knowledge management has been incorporated in many organizations. KM is a process that applied in organizations for profit and non-profit organizations, and which increase the efficiency, effectiveness, and excellences of any kind of organizations by offering different methods, technologies, and tools. So for the last, what should I say, for the last 10 to 15 years, it has been widely accepted for the library things also. Though library is not a like kind of profit-oriented organizations, it's a kind of like non-profit and service-oriented organizations. So it has become a vibrant area for the library people, because library people are more interested to adapting knowledge management and other aligned areas to their works. And if we think about the knowledge management, so the great definition given by the Nonakan Takeuchi, who is the founder of the knowledge creation model, where he shows that how Japanese companies create knowledge in society using the Seki model. But they say that knowledge management is a kind of activity that created knowledge in the organizations, disseminated in the organizations, and applies those knowledge in for the improvement or for gaining competitive advantages among with the other organizations. And taking that length, many LIS researchers, faculties, and library people did conduct many studies in knowledge management, and some of those studies have recently come out to their dissertation in the form of dissertation and in the form of articles. Some of these are like how two disciplines like knowledge science and library science meet each other, what are the areas they are occupying each other, and how are the libraries ready for applying knowledge management, and how knowledge management offered to the service innovation in academic libraries, or what are the technologies, tools can libraries apply for implementing KM things, how the library people can retain and transfer knowledge. So these are the areas that have been focused for the last few years by the library people. So this is one direction when we are trying to explore how LIS can be adapted to the KM things. But we didn't find a single studies, or we didn't find any kind of studies that has been focused why or how much areas LIS has been taken in the pure KM research things. So that is where I took my positions here. So as I discussed that KM is increasingly called for the LIS people for applying in the libraries and information settings, and a good number of papers have already been published, and it is said that the time has come to embrace, to call for more KM things in the libraries, considering that basically we had focused on research objectives for the present study. To what extent has mainstream KM literature embraced the LIS research as a domain within KM, and what is the place of KM research? It is a kind of like vice versa. LIS in KM, on the other hand, we had focused here KM in LIS things. So for addressing these research objectives, we have come up with a couple of research questions that is focused how many LIS related papers have been published in the top KM journals since the year 2000. So for the present study, basically we had focused the articles like top 10 articles which has been ranked by Google Scholar, and we had focused only the last 18 years since 2000 to 2018. For addressing research questions, we had used this, and the research question 2 was that what are the publishing trends of these LIS articles? After scanning and examining all those articles, reading the abstracts and finding the contents, we had focused on what are the areas that libraries has been discussed on these articles, and which areas of LIS research, like in aspect of terms, in which regions this study has been happening, and which settings which kind of organizations like academic library, public library, special library, or national library, what kind of libraries are applying those things, and what are the methods on those articles. That's the areas we had focused for identifying these research questions. And finally, after scanning all those articles, like more about like about 13,000 articles, we had found what the articles that were the top cited, which is related all about the game and library information science things. And so that's that from my part, and my co-author Naresh will come here and will focus what the methodologies we have applied in this study and what are the discussion and findings for the present study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anwar. Hi everyone, my name is Naresh Agarwal. I'm an associate professor at Simmons University, the School of Library and Information Science there. And we have recently reconfigured, we went from college to university, and now we have 4 colleges and schools within them as opposed to 5 colleges, 5 schools earlier. And Anwar and I, we started collaborating, I think since 2014 when he was a PhD student in Japan, and he wrote an email asking to collaborate, and we ended up doing go-to-meetings, and I think by now we have about 15 papers that we have co-authored. And we met for the first time about 2 years later after having produced a number of papers through purely like working online. And so it has been a very successful collaboration, and I'm glad to get to meet him again at some of these conferences. And in this paper, we thought that what should we work on? That's when we started looking at the relationship between library and information science and knowledge management, and trying to see where they sort of come together. And as Anwar explained, trying to see how much of LIS is in knowledge management. So to talk about the methodology, here we have, we had to find out like which are the top knowledge management journals, and there are various ways of doing that. And one effective way we found was that Google Scholar has something called metrics. So when you go and search for metrics in Google Scholar, and you can find the top journals in any field when you do that. And so we went and searched for knowledge management, and Google Scholar gave us a list of like top 20 publications. It's a very long list over here. And so these top 20 publications include both journals and conferences. So from here we took the first 10, the top 10 journals that were listed here. And what is listed here on the right hand side is H5 index. So H5 index, let's say we take the first journal, which is the Journal of Knowledge Management, which is a top journal in the field. And that number 46 means that of the 46 articles that were published in the last 5 years, at least there were 5 citations each to 46 of those articles. So the higher the number, which means that the higher the impact of the journals. So these were all the top journals, and in the first phase, what we took just the top 10, and we have actually completed more work since we submitted this paper, and we have done a follow-up where we have analyzed the conferences as well to see what's the impact of that, and that we have submitted to a journal recently. And when we look at these journals, so here we have these journals that we finally identified, and they are ranked within the top 20 as given by Google Scholar. Now, one thing that I want to mention about Google Scholar is that the ranking that we came up with in terms of identifying these journals and conferences, this was as of April 2018. But very recently, when we saw the list again, the list was different. So Google Scholar sort of dynamically updates this list, so you have to take into consideration that this list has to be taken at a point in time. And it's not very different, but there are a few journals like up and down. So these are the names of the various journals out there, and what's the frequency of these journals? Like for the Journal of Knowledge Management is published by Emerald. It's a quarterly journal published every 3 months and indexed by these various databases. And similarly, these are the abbreviations we came up with for the different journals, and these are the rankings based on the top 20 identified by Google Scholar. So looking at the findings of our research questions, this is a huge spreadsheet where we have, it was very difficult to fit it on in a paper because there's a lot of small numbers here. But these are the top 10 journals, and those are the years from the year 2000 to the year 2018. So it's starting from 00 to 18 on top. And what we've listed here is the number of articles produced by those journals each year. So let's say for Journal of Knowledge Management, they produced 1,058 articles in the last, since the year 2000 to 2018, the last 18 years. But of all those articles that it produced, there were only 3 articles out of more than 1,000 which were related to library and information science. And of the other articles published by some of these other journals, like from 570, only 1 article was LIS related. And so So if you look at the total number of articles produced by these top 10 journals, it was 4,600 articles in all these years, out of which 83 articles were related to library and information science. And for that, we actually had to go and scan, look at the abstracts in most cases of all the articles, and full papers in some of the cases to look for terms such as library education, information science, or all of those terms to see if any of those were there or not. So this is the same paper listed. We tried to clean it up a little bit, and this is listing just the percentage. So 83 articles out of 4,600 comes down to 1.8%. So that is the amount of coverage that LIS has within knowledge management journals. And I think this becomes especially interesting because there's been so much research published in the last few years talking about why knowledge management is important for libraries and how libraries should embrace knowledge management. And it's been, I think, at least 5 to 10 years, at least 10 years now since that's been happening. So to look at that increased volume of research about why knowledge management is important, how these two are related, and to see this number that has only 1.8% of all articles, that shows that the amount of distance that we still need to travel as a discipline, and how we can sort of, what does it disciplines can synthesize and come together. And this is the same thing listed in terms of a chart. So it's a percentage of LIS-rated articles among all articles per year across the top 10 KM journals. So we find that it was actually not too bad in the year 2001. There were about 14% of articles which were library and information science related that were published in top KM journals in the year 2001. And that number has been sliding down a lot. At 2009 it was pretty low. And the good news is that it's kind of picking up now. So in the year 2018 until now, or even until the time we submitted the paper, it was about 6.67%. So which is better than what it was. And this is the percentage of LIS articles among all articles per journal. Now there is this journal that we have, which is VINE, the Journal of Information and Knowledge Management Systems. So that's actually doing quite well, like in terms of at least accepting LIS-rated articles, and it has 9.2% of its all accepted articles in those 2018 years, which are related to LIS. And there's another journal which is Journal of Information and Knowledge Management, and that's accepting about 4% of the articles. So one thing that this does demonstrate is that if library and information science professionals need to publish their KM work in KM journals, then maybe these two journals are a good place to try. They seem to be more accepting of our articles in our field. So these were the terms that we found. Like we analyzed all the 83 articles that we found, and we tried to see that what sort of research are people publishing, like what areas of LIS are being covered in this knowledge-related work, knowledge management-related work. And of the types of library, we found that about a huge number of these are focused on academic libraries or university libraries, and about 5 of them were special libraries in some other settings. Between libraries and archives, 21 articles were in libraries, others were in archives. In terms of technology, the library management system, information system, those were sort of the top focus. Because I think the reason you find that is most of the time when you think of libraries or library information science and knowledge management, you think of change management. And you're thinking of what do we need to bring about change in our settings, and we think of that's where knowledge management comes in this whole idea of trying to do our things better, trying to provide better services. And you cannot do that in our today's day and age without really incorporating technology, and a lot of the innovation is also linked to technology, even though knowledge management talks about innovation linked with people more than technology, because technology is something that follows later. And as we come down, we find some of the other things: digital libraries, digital repositories, online portals, the types of collections, e-books and e-journals, training, library training and learning, and education, user services, cataloging, and so on. So those were all some of the terms that we found. And in terms of regions and countries identified from those articles, a large number of them didn't really identify a region, but the UK seems to be the kind of big focus. Like it's producing about 15 times. We found 15 of those 83 articles mentioning coming from UK, and 8 from USA, and then others from some other countries. And wherever there are no numbers listed, it just means one article each. In terms of settings, again, academic libraries was the big focus, 42 times that we found that. And the type of research method, again, 56 of them were opinion pieces or theoretical papers or literature reviews. 18 of them were surveys, and 6 of them were interviews or case studies, and the rest in mixed methods. And this is looking at top ranked articles with 10 or more citations from across the top 10 KM journals in these 80 years. So we looked at all these articles that we found and which were the ones which were highly cited. So to come up with this top rank, we looked at 2 ways of citing. One was the rank based on the number of citations in the lifetime of these articles. And there we found that this first article was ranked 3, and then there is another one by Allman, so that's at rank 1. Danishkar and the other article that's at rank 4. Islam and Nikita is at 11. So that's the kind of ranking. And then we looked at the ranking based on the average citations per year. And that's the ranking in the last column. And we took an average of those and came up with this overall rank for those articles. And actually we found that one paper that Anwar and I co-wrote in 2014, where we looked at the knowledge management tools, like what are this complete collection of knowledge management tools and mechanisms that libraries can adopt in order to successfully demonstrate or implement knowledge management. Because that's a huge area in terms of trying to get people to adopt a certain system, like the way ACES is grappling right now with adopting community as a platform. So most of the time, that's a big focus. And we found that article has been cited like 20 times since now, and that's among the top cited articles. And one paper which Anwar wrote with his PhD advisor, that's among the top 5 as well. So this is the coverage of top cited articles in different journals. So Vine has 13 of these, and Journal of Knowledge Management has 6 of these. And in terms of the number of years, 2003, 2004, 2003, these are the years in which these top cited articles have been published. And these are the 5 top ranked alliance rated articles in knowledge management journals. So this is what regions they are looking at. So the first article was to do with academic libraries. The primary stakeholders is users. It's a survey-based study. Anwar and my article, that was it is kind of a position paper where we kind of just looking at various tools, and it does not really have a research method. It's more of a theoretical paper or a position paper, and it looks at technology acceptance model and some of these other terms of like knowledge management cycles and tools. And so you can see that for all the other articles as well. The regions, the settings, and stakeholders and methods. So to come to the discussion and implications, so the main implication here is that of all these vast, over 98% of articles produced by in knowledge management settings does not include LIS, and only 1.8% or less than 2% is library information and science related. And you can try to understand that a little bit in the context of the field of knowledge management, because knowledge management came about in for-profit companies since the late 90s or so. So that is why most of the work is done around for-profit. And later on, people said that okay, we can take this work and now non-profits can also adopt it. So hospitals and other kinds of information-related settings and all that, those became venues for studying and applying knowledge management as well. So library information science is sort of a sub-part of that service-oriented part of knowledge management, and that's where our impact is pretty low right now, but impact or our place in this field. But that does not mean that we still don't produce knowledge management research. So one limitation that we have is that we have not looked at the library information science journals. We only looked at knowledge management journals. So in our own journals of a field, we would find many articles which are actually knowledge management related, so the number could be higher than that. And maybe there's a greater comfort to publishing articles in our field as compared to publishing in KM journals. So those could be some of the reasons why we're there. And in our next phase of the project, we aim to look at LIS journals and look at knowledge management within that to try to see what's the number difference there. So at this stage, Anwar and I are ready to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the very interesting talk. And I was thinking in my head how about this very low number that you're showing and the limitation that you mentioned. It's an obvious one, and I think it would be interesting to look at the actual library and information science journals. I also wonder if there could be some sort of more, let's say, less restrictive definition of the relationship that you could apply to such research in order to measure this signal a bit better? For example, citations to library information science papers by knowledge management. Articles, for example, that's an example. Or authors, like if I'm in an LIS department and I don't talk about libraries in my abstract, but I do knowledge management and I publish in a knowledge management journal, that's a relationship. Is that the relationship too?
So you're talking about, so the authors of these articles are in the LIS department but don't really do library-related work or LIS-related work. So
Yeah.
that's not.
And maybe a broader setup, because library, then the words that you've shown, they were very library-oriented, and information science
Yes,
is a bit broader than that too. And so I think that maybe the number you show is like a bit.
Yeah, I think that you're right. So within LIS, this term has a more strong emphasis on the L rather than the IS. And the moment we start taking IS, but then we get into a big trouble because the information science, the way we define information science is maybe, I think the way I understand it is this triangle where there's information on one side, people on one side, and technology on the other side. And that pretty much is all of the entire human race right now. So then again, how do we narrow down? That's challenging.
Well, can I just follow? So I wanted to make the same point because I think you really need to retitle your thing. It's just about libraries. It's not about information science.
Maybe library science.
Yeah, because it's clearly not about information science because I just checked. So I wrote a knowledge management research and practice article in 2009. It's not in your data set. It was cited 42 times, so it was at the top of your list. So
but was it in one of those journals in there?
Knowledge management research and practice.
And it was in that list?
You didn't include my article in your sample because it was clearly an information science article.
But you're saying it was not included because it was information science but not library science, right?
So I think you really need to narrow your definition so you can be clear about operationalizing what you're really looking at because it's not information science.
Yeah. And what area was the article on? Like
2009.
What was the topic of the article?
Worldwide Web of Research and Access to Knowledge from a very information science perspective.
So access to knowledge, okay, knowledge access. So again, access. You find knowledge acquisition is one of the big key parts of the KM cycle. So I guess it goes into a lot of the access research. Yes.
Professor, I really like your presentation because I'm a PhD student from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. And what I'm trying to do is a research based on scientific memory. In the library that I work for in Brazil, I'm also a public server. But it was kind of interesting that you came with the result. Only 1.8% works. They match the library library information science with the knowledge management. Because I also have the master in business administration. I saw a lot of articles, papers, academic productions with knowledge management in the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. Based on business administration, so I was figuring out that's why it's a kind of reason that we are kind of change what's the role of the librarian, because in the past the librarian was more a technical one. He was more technical one with concern with archiving and restoring the collections of memories, but not really concerned about knowledge management. So we are kind of changed the role of the librarian right now. I was in the conference, ICTM, a couple of days ago, and we discussed a lot of what is the future of the librarian, what we're going to turn in. We are now seen as a knowledge professionals, not only the people that achieve, it's not a mechanical one. We have built a future with knowledge management. So that's why I really like your presentation a lot. And also I saw that you did the biometrics, the quantitative studies. And my studies, I'm kind of mix quality and quantitative studies. So I think that gaps that you came out with this research at the end. So we come up with this result. So I'm trying to solve gathering two types of methodology, quantity and quality. So, because in Brazil it's very common, we match two kind of methodologies. I really appreciate a lot your work.
Thank you so much. And I think just that point about the field changing and the role for librarian changing, right, is very important because, and especially now, I think with the advent of fake news and a lot of people not being able to distinguish between the right kind of information, right, the role of library and information professionals have become really important because research has shown that people actually believe fake news. And then you need people who are trained in this work just to get people to think critically and train people in that. So that's some of my other research. I'm trying to look at some of those other parts. So I think there is a big role of the librarian. And in the other work that Anwar and I did, we talked about why librarians should start working with creating value, working as trying to first not just provide services to the user, but then co-creating services along with the user to invite them in part of that process. And I think that was also in line with the keynote that we had earlier, where we provide systems and services and all that and hand over to people in order to use them, where they may not understand the entire context of it. So we have to work with people to design things in terms of their own vocabulary. So even in the library field, you have things like reference. It can be very simply said, can I help you? Rather than calling it reference. Or you have things like catalog, right? Again, which most people don't understand. So there are lots of terms which are imposed on public, rather than having terms which are more relatable to people. So there's a lot of user experience part to it, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. Do we have time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm wondering if you took into account the fact that there are lots of library schools and library and information science schools, but there are very few who teach knowledge management, and how that could have impacted what you're finding in trying to find literature related between the two fields.
I think that's a great point, and there are very few programs, in fact, which have knowledge management programs. Like in my university in Simmons and in the School of Library and Information Science, we just have one course on knowledge management, which I teach. We do have some other courses like cognitive intelligence, and which are other electives as well. But there are not. It's not like a big concentration or a major area. And I think there's an opportunity out there for LIS schools to integrate knowledge management more fully in the curriculum, to make it an important course. I think when that happens, this research number will also go up. And there's also an opportunity for knowledge management people to also work more fully with other LIS people in order to try to get a greater synergy between the two. So I think thank you for that comment.
I just want to kind of follow on to the earlier comments. I think there's a nice thread here, because a lot of you didn't show all the terms that you used, but they were very library oriented, as we heard. I think also we just went through curriculum revision, and our library science program is much more information science based than it was. I think that's happening across the country and the world. So not including those, I think, is leaving out a lot of interaction that exists. The other thing that I noticed between fields when we collaborate is people have different terms for the same concept or related concepts, right? Sometimes you can account because knowledge management might call it this, and if I publish in that area, I call it that. But if I'm in LIS, I call it something different. And so unless you've got some way of equating those terms, you may miss some of those things. Right?
Yes, I think that's a great point, because we might clearly have missed a lot of the points in terms, especially when people are calling the same things in different ways. In fact, I personally do not like the term knowledge management, because it's like, how can I manage the knowledge which is in the head? How do I have that audacity? That sort of thing comes up. So rather than that, I think it should be called as, how can I make your life simpler than what it is? In terms of just looking at the whole idea of knowledge management. And your earlier point, what was the first point that you said before that?
The list of LIS
the space of the library. So you said library science is becoming more of an information science. I think that is another debate over how visible should the library be. Should the library be a separate entity within a university? Or if you think of library as just an electronic portal which is out there, then should it be more of a part of all the learning management systems and overall integrated in various ways? So I think that place of the library as embedded across the entire curriculum of a university, or just have a separate entity, that's again another discussion. I think, as I said, many of these departments and schools are being reintegrated into bigger schools, and we ourselves were part of the School of Library and Information Science within Simmons College. Now we are part of another college with business school and math and computer science, but we still retain the name library, School of Library and Information Science. So, yeah, thank you for those.
Thank you.